coming.
Şimdi真的很直觉。
remember when we went on the Isle of Wight?
So what you've got in front of you at the moment is, I might have to get the second mic, is you got a representation of a 17th century camp. This would have been like a static camp. They would have probably been for a couple of days. If they were just literally passing through, they would have been finding churches, farms, hedges to sleep under, unless of course you was an officer and you probably had something that would make sure you was billeted in the local manner. Okay. Okay. Just the rear rank. There'll be your frontage to the left hand side. You're firing, aren't you? Yeah. Okay. Front rank will kneel. Second rank close over. Third rank fill the gaps. Now then, before they do anything, do not your fingers. Just do that, just cut. I'm just going to get out of the way because I don't want to get shot. What about us? Present your pieces! Check the sky sticks, prepare to give fire, give fire! This fire's out. Brilliant, recover! Fantastic. Well done. So, what you got in front of you is Regiment Thomasville Grove Gravy, that's a Leicestershire regiment. We have got some friends with from Oakleys, from Louses, and we have got some London Blue in the camp as well, so we've not just Lord Greys here. Oh, and Manchester's. God, that was close, wasn't it? Oh, sorry, and Rupert's. Oh dear. So, this reputation of the 17th century was still a far superior weapon to this monstrosity that's in front of you. The only problem is, to fire a bow and arrow, you need to be training for 10, 15, 20 years. With the musket, you can take these very nice, intelligent people from the fields, from harvesting their turnips, and within the end of the day, they would be able to fire this weapon. And that was the difference, it was the training. But, even though it was a reasonably simple weapon, we still had to go through a lot of procedures. If they could order your arms. So at the moment, this is how they would be. This is where you would get your new recruits, you'd put a musket in their hands, and they would stand here and order. This is also what they would be at sentry and all just waiting to go anywhere. Then you would tell them to shoulder their muskets. Now a lot of this would be done on the drum beat, but I'm not going to ask for the drum beats. So a lot of it would be on drum beats, I'll explain to that later. So this is how they would march around. Obviously you can manoeuvre them quite quickly. Then once they come up to the enemy or to fire, they would port their muskets. So yes, I've just had to ask the royalists, because even though we was all going from the same sort of drill manuals, we all have slightly different commands, and actually the royalists call this hump port. So, you know, you do, even now I have to try and remember. So this is now the weapon ready to do some loading, and you go through procedures. There is about 49 stages of loading a musket. I am not going to do all of them because you'll soon disappear and get on the train and go home. But what I'm going to do is just go through some of them so they know. So open your pan, clean your pan. This is making sure there's no sparks in there, because if there was, when they do the next bit, which is charge your pan, if there's any sparks in there, it's going to go up in their faces. Yeah, actually charge, guys. So what they're doing is putting a bit of black powder into a little tiny pan, after which you can come over a real close look. Close your pan. Blow off and knock off your powder. Now this is again to make sure no powder on the top. We actually did an event a couple of weeks ago, and there was a little bit of powder left on the top of Musketeer, and when he tried his match it actually went bang. That was Sammy, your lot. It wasn't his fault, it was just, you know, it was just one of those things. So they now cast about their pieces, so they're now putting it to their side. You've got to slightly remember, these are actually quite short muskets. The muskets right at the beginning of the Civil War period were actually about 4 foot, and they were heavy, so that's why they needed to put it on the ground. We do try to do training with them walking around, because especially in reenactment now, you will be doing a musket in a musket block, and a horse will come or something will come, and you've got to move, and you've got to learn to actually load on the move. So a lot of them will have little powder flasks around them. That is one charge. That is basically the beginning of a bullet. One charge in there. Others will have just a powder flask. Again, the little nozzle on the top is one charge. Charge your muskets. So now what they're doing is putting the powder into the musket. These are all muzzle-loading muskets. There's no breech, which is at the other end. They will then take a ball, a lead ball. Now, unfortunately, for some unknown reason, health and safety say we can't. And also, apparently, the royalists get a bit upset if we fire a lead ball. So you've got to imagine they putting the ball down. Some people will now wad. I don't wad, but a lot of musketeers do. This is helps to actually push the powder. Withdraw your scouring sticks, shorter reverse, and ram home your charge. So what they're doing now is compacted all that. You want it really compact. Withdraw your scouring stick, place home your scouring sticks. Now then, these guns are almost loaded now. Port and high port your musket. Take your match, blow on your match. This is the actual ignition. These are called matchlocks. We have got a flintlock somewhere, but we haven't tried it, and we don't. Who's got a flint? Oh, that's a toy. Yeah, actually. Yeah. So a flint, John, just hold your flint up. It's basically just like a modern lighter. They haven't got the match like these guys have, because what they've got to do now is they've got to mount their match and try their match. So what they're doing now is making sure that the match goes into their pan. Now they do that. Kids, what does X marks the spot mean? Does it mean treasure? No. there's a little X or a mark on top of the pan, and you're making sure that that goes onto the mark, and you know you're going to fire. These guys are now ready. Okay, musketeers, right hand about face. Check your scouring sticks. That's a modern order because we don't want to be firing the scouring sticks. It's going to do some damage. Present your pieces. Ready to give fire. Give fire. Beautiful. No, sooner or later this never die. Lovely. Alright guys, yeah, give them a advance your pike. March. Stand. Open your order from the centre. Bring us up just the back bank, double your frontage to your left hand side. Jim, Watty and my little boy. Come down. Right, spread along a bit. So, you've just been bored to death by the musketeers because they take an awful long time. So we still needed to have something to protect these musketeers because we didn't have bayonets yet. So all your pikes. So what we had is the pike. The pike is just basically a big spear, but it was still the noble arm. Right at the beginning of the Civil War period, all the nobility and real high-ranking people, if they weren't on a horse, they would actually put themselves in the pike because it was still seen as a very noble arm. Unfortunately, the pike days were over. Basically, when you got a piece of ash, anything from 14 to 18 foot long, tipped with a lovely steel tip. Again, like the pike, you have loads of procedures, manoeuvres to go through. They're quite unwieldy things. If anybody wants to try them, in this wind, it's actually quite hard. So at the moment, again, they're at order. This is where they would stand and waiting for the other orders. Advance your pikes! So now this is where they can march around on the field. As an officer, you'll be waiting to hear the click, click, click. That means that the pikes aren't straight and they're hitting each other. So you don't want to really hear that. If you hear it, then you have a look. Port your pike. This is coming down. This is a salute to a general, and it's also a halfway stage. Halfway stage to what? Halfway stage to charge a pike! This, no, brilliant. This is how they would fight. They would go into each other, they would step forward to the drum of the beat, little steps, just march on a little bit, and the opposition pike block would come in the same. This would be terrifying. You'd be going into another upstand. Oh, that was close. If I can have Matt and Joe out, facing that way, and can I have Roz and Tabs facing this way, the others just step back for a minute. So just to give you an idea what that was like if they were going to each other. Now you're that way, you're the enemy. Okay. Charge pikes. They would march on. They would engage. Now they consider unwieldy things. And actually what would happen is they would go past each other. Matt and Mitch, jump on the back of these two. Back of Woz and Tabs. Stay where you are, Woz. So what would be behind these guys? They would be being pushed on. And behind these guys, they would be pushing on. Push on back. pipes push on. And they would just be pushing, and basically it would just come to a big light rugby scrum, pushing each other over. These guys at the front can't hear you. Actually, the plates aren't doing a lot. This one might be hitting someone right at the back because they haven't seen it. But basically they would just be shoving each other until they just got exhausted. Okay, recover your body! We don't know how they stopped. What you've got to think about is that these blocks were 100, 150, 200 men big. So we're talking, you know, really clash. And then as they split, you wouldn't have any injuries, but you'd have a lot of crushed bones and they would drop on the floor. This is the colour of Thomas Lord Grey with the sun and the unicorn. We know this colour was actually at the Battle of Edge Hill in 1642. Not this big, it was a cavalry standard, which is a little bit smaller, but we've made it into a full-size flag. This is what they all rallied on. All these troops would look exactly the same as the Royalists. So this is what you looked at. Like today, you went down with the flag or you got the flag to someone else. You did not let that flag get caught. Even today, in reenactment, if you're going to take somebody's flag, it has to be part of a cameo. You still respect the regimental flags. You do not take the standard bearers, and you certainly do not take their flag, unless it's part of a cameo. So we still respect it a lot. It's basically saying, here we are, come and have a go. You have a look across the battlefield to see who's there. You see AG here, and then you know who you're going to be fighting. The problem is, I, as an officer, didn't have a wonderful microphone system. After about 10 minutes of talking, I wouldn't have a voice. Well, they usually cheer at that point. Ooh, got away with it. So, the only way I could communicate to the regiments, or to the foot soldiers, is through the drummers. So, they were very important. They were actually taken as messengers as well. They would go into the enemy camps, give a message, have a little bit of a look and shufty, see what's going on in there. Again, drummers were very rarely harmed. They were probably captured. They were quite senior officers. But they would do a series of beats that everybody would know, and they would know whether they need to advance, charge, make ready, or charge for a horse, which you'll hear in a minute. Can you do a drum beat, guys? Thank you very much. Retire into the middle, please. Right, march you up. Over here, please, Pike. Match your pipes. That's it. Down. Right, we left the bottom part of the pipe, and that was to protect them from the horse. Horses were quite clever animals, all your arms. They used to come thundering down, 300-400 at a time, and what they would do is see these pikes, you'll see them in a minute, and it just looks like a prickly hedge to them, and they would engage. Open your order a little bit. Musketeers, get ready. Lord Greys, charge for horse, drums and colours in, to the fore. In you come. Beautiful. So you can see now, this is a hedgehog. Yep, son. You can see these pegs are actually at the height of a horse's head. Like I say, the horses would come down, they'd see this as a prickly hedge and they would stop. The rider would come off, or they would spin round and charge into the oncoming cavalry. Some of them would actually impale themselves on it. Now then, if a rider did come off, he ain't going to stand there and go, oh dear, he's going to go, right, I'm going to try and get in. So what we got is musketeers all in here. They're ready to take out any riders. We've got pikes here at charge, again, to take any riders out. This formation saved the Royalists at 2 major battles. Right on, guys, come here, buddy! 2 major battles at Newcastle in exact formation, and Bloody Pike. Back to the island there. At Marston Moor and Rupert's at oh, you didn't hear me. At Naseby, they did it. This formation, and the parliamentarians can get through. Then that Rupert's went back, and they did it again. Couldn't get through. Third time, Parliament's attacked that formation of Rupert's, and they didn't get through. Third time, Parliament actually rode off, said, well done guys, what a wonderful battle, and let them go. London Blue, they're not listening, but London Blue did it in about the same parliamentarians, so it was very, very effective. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Thomas Blaze of the 17th century, fear not. Thank you very much.
The mast has one.